Welcome to shul.com. We are here at the Surfside Kolel Boker and we are starting the Sefer Hanukkah BeSiyon. It's right here. Take a look. Written by BeSiyon Musafi, following his father, Salman Musafi, and the Halachot of the Kabbalah and the Pshat together. So let's take a look. Yemei Hanukkah. Limud Halachot Hanukkah. He starts. Aleph. And he starts with Maaseh Rav. Maaseh Rav is like he says, Ovdot v'hanagot chidushim u'biurim me'et rabotai, from his rabbis, Baduni Ateret Roshi, Zecher Sadiq v'kadosh v'cha, that's his father, Rav Salman Musafi. So actually we have a photo of Rav Salman Musafi, so let's pull him up so people can see it. Right there, here is a Rav Salman Musafi. So you guys can see it, there he is. Okay, so there's a Rav Salman Musafi. Let's begin and take a look at what he has to say. Aleph, Hasidim ve'anshe ma'aseh nohagim lilmod halachot Chanukah mitoch sifrei haposkim shavua yamim kodem Hanukkah. 1 week before Hanukkah, we should start learning. So we're being machmir. We're machmir. We actually started almost 2 months before, but we're going to be learning from Hacham Musafi. We're going to be learning from Abadja Yosef, Hazon Abadja. We're learning from Yalkut Yosef and the Ben Ish Hai. So we want to try to cover between 4 and 5 Svarim and maybe even Halakha Berura. So we cover all the Halachot of Chanukah according to all the opinions. So he says it started a week before, but this is maybe when we get older and we're more familiar. Now we're still learning, we're learning the ropes. That's how Rav Salman used to do it. Every year, 1 week before, he reviewed. ששבוע ימים קודם ימי חנוכה היה מעיין בהלכות חנוכה בהרמב"ם, also הרמב"ם, שולחן ערוך ולבוש, וכן בספר חמדת ימים, והיה מתענג על דבריהם ואומר לנו חידושים נפלאים מדבריהם מטובלים בענייני קבלה, דברי רבנו הארי, בשאר הכוונות ועוד, עמוד סדי ט'. Okay, so he used to go through a bunch of the books. What are the books that he went through? Rav Salman, he went through Harambam, he went through the Shulchan Aruch and the Levush, which is a perush on there, and he also went through the Hemdat Yamim, and he would go through also Inyanei HaKabbalah from Rabbeinu Ha'ari, which is probably from Rav Chaim Vital on Shara Kavanot. Okay, next one. Hachana Mine Metika. Bet. Minhag Kadum Bekihilot Yisrael Be'artzot HaMizrach U'Bifrat Bekihilot Shebebavel, in the Middle Eastern countries and in Iraq. Like halva. He said they would make it. They would take flour into a pot or bowl, or mahabat, a pan, they put sugar, different types of seasonings and water. Until they make from it like a dough. ואופים פת מיוחדת בתנור ומורחים המתיקה עליה. They put it into the oven and they make from it a sweet item. ושולחים אותם בידי הילדים, they give it to the children, לכל המוכרים והמחרים והקרובים, וכן למתפללי בית כנסת. And they give this out to friends, family, people in shul בפרט. היו עושים כן האבלים על אב ואם תוך י' בית חודש. They would do that specifically for people whose parents passed away. They would make it, I guess they'd make this halva. וראיתי שכן הוא מנהג אנשי עיר הקודש ירושלים. That was the custom in Jerusalem. וכן נהגו בקהילות קודש בערים נוספות בארץ ישראל and other cities around Israel. שמעתי ממור אבי ז"ל, הרב סלמן, טעם המנהג, the reason for this, מכיוון שהם חוששים שלאיזה אדם הייתה קפדה על הנפטר, שולחים לו זאת לאות הכנעה ופיוס ומחילה, עמוד קמ"ג. So what did he say, Rav Salman? He said, why did they give out this halva all around the kids and adults and shuls in memory of the person who passed away? That let's say this person who passed away, he had some sichsuch or vikuach with somebody, and when you give out this sweet, the guy who had an argument with, he said it was in memory of the person who passed away. He kind of, in his heart, he had a little sweet something. He kind of forgives him. And if he had a kpeda or he's makpid on something, he passes it away. He passes it. That doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. So he said there is something to it. So Rav Salman says that a person, it's a good custom that to do leilu nishmat, someone who passed away, sweets, and give it to everybody in the community.
What does that have to do with Chanukah?
I don't know. I don't know what it has to do with Hanukkah. Let's take a look if he mentions it. But he mentions it now in the book. This is the second part. I don't know. Gimel. Gam nahagu bebatei Yisrael rabim la'asot ma'adan zeh livnei habayit balilot Chanukah. This is why. He says this was also the custom to do it in Hanukkah. They would make this halva. Even if nobody passed away for any reason, no askara, still they would do it. ויש קהילות שהיו מתגנים במבנה בצק בשם קוראים אותו ספינג. They're talking about sphinge. Yeah. So he said they would make other things where they would fry it with oil. We're going to get to that. Why oil on the holiday? It's good. ועיין בספר הערוך, ערך ספקן, שכתב שהם מיני סופגין ודובשין. Different types of things that they would fry and with honey. והיא עיסה שלושה ועשאוה כמין ספוג. This is a Moroccan thing, the sfoog? What is that?
Yeah.
It's a Moroccan thing?
Sfinge is
Sfinge?
a Moroccan thing, yeah.
It's not, because I don't remember, I mean, I'm Lebanese, I don't remember having the sfinge, maybe they did, I don't know. Umfazarim alav sukar udvash, or they put on it sugar or honey. Uminhag ze muskar kvar bekubas serid upalit. It's brought down in that book in Yerushalayim in Tav Shin Hey, B'Shem Rabbeinu Maimon, Aviv Shel Harambam. So this thing is going to end up becoming sufganiyot.
Yeah.
That's where the basis comes from. And he brings it down from the father of Harambam, alav shalom. He said, don't be lenient in this custom of giving the sfinge or the soup, which became the sufganiyot. Even though you think, what are they eating donuts? What does that have to do with anything? Yeah. The father Harambam said, don't make fun of that. There's something really, really deep in it. And he says a person should have a nice meal. He should make a party on Hanukkah in order to spread the miracle of what happened. Upshat haminhag la'asot sufganiyot hanikraim belashon arvi al-sfing. It says he makes sufganiyot, and he brings you the Arabic word. V'hem kitzapichit b'dvash, it's sweet. Ubelashon ha-mishnah ha-iskiritin. That's what they would call it. Uminhag kadmonim hu. It's an old custom. V'hem metuganim b'shemen, fried in oil. Zecher lebirkat Hashem b'shemen, because God saved Am Yisrael with the oil to allow the menorah to be lit. So therefore, we celebrate with eating. Remember, whenever Jews want to celebrate, we've connected to food and we make a meal. Ad kan devarav. V'yesh mekamot shenoagim sholchim leyeshivot u'talmudei Torah u'mechalkim lehem midei shana. And some people have a custom to go to the yeshivot and Talmudei Torah, and they give out to them midei shana. V'omrim sheish b'zeh nachat ruach leniftarim u'baruch hayodea shoresh minhag zeh. And he says that they would give it out to yeshivot, I guess, different types of the donuts and the sufganiyot, and it would bring nahat ruach to those who passed away. Again, you see, he keeps mentioning something of the spirits that passed away by doing this. There was an old lady that used to do this. This old lady would come to Porat Yosef in Yerushalayim. She was bent over like a hunchback from all of her days. She would take from her hands and she would give out to all the students and the rabbis from what she made at home. And she's being Gan Eden. Amud Kuf Mem Daled. He said, and all the rabbis and the children of yeshiva used to bless her with a very nice face and with a lot of hakarat hatov. Goes to show you, how this lady, again, we don't know who she was, we don't know how she baked at home, but the Chachamim, they trusted her and they allowed her to bring that into the yeshiva to feed the boys. And not only that, he's talking about it, this must be 50, 60, 70 years after, how he remembers how the chesed of a person. A lot of times we do mitzvot, but we do them for reasons other than maybe l'shem shamayim. But sometimes you see a person, he's doing a mitzvah, it might not be the most perfect in the way that you might have learned it inside, but he's doing it from his heart. And here, this lady is doing it from her heart. She wanted to give something really to them to feed the hachamim, to feed the people in the yeshiva. And look how Salman, how he spoke so nice about her. Ma'ot Hanukkah, Dalet. Bekihilot edot hamizrach lo nahagu b'minhag ma'ot Hanukkah liyadim. In the Middle Eastern countries, they did not give any type of money or coins or anything that was called ma'ot Hanukkah to the children. Hen b'chateh shelo lehaknot b'nefesh she'irei hatzon תינוקות של בית רבן את המנהג המגונה של אסיפת כספים כמנהג הקבצנים. He said it's a ugly custom to do such a thing, where you just give them money or let them go around collecting money from people. We don't encourage that. ואין בכדי שלא להרגלם לגשת לכל אדם שאינם מכירים. You're training the kids to go to any random person they don't know, strangers, and ask them for money. It's not a good thing. ולבקש ממנו טובות, and ask from him to do you a favor, give you this. שעל כך עלולים להיגרם מכשולים רבים. The children and people get involved with a lot of bad things. ובחינוך ובטהרה כידוע, עמוד קמח. So he says, don't do that. It's funny, he put it in amud kemach. Kemach is in kemach in Torah. Kemach is money, like flour. That's interesting. But he's telling you, don't encourage Chanukah geld. Don't give out the money that way. That he says, don't do. Bikur b'kivrei sadikim b'yemei Hanukkah. Should you visit the kivarim of sadikim on Hanukkah? Hey, shamanu mimehakubalim haskenim, the old Kabbalist, שכשם שכתב בשאר הגלגולים, הן הקדמה למ"ח, בשאר רוח הקודש, he writes, ועוד שמותר להתפלל על קבורות צדיקים בחול המועד, that you could pray on the graves of tzaddikim during חול המועד. So that חול המועד, that would be 2 times a year. That would be Pesach and on Sukkot. נראה שיש ללמוד מכך שכל שכן בימי חנוכה שמותר ללכת על קברי צדיקים לטפל ולבקש בקשות אפילו להשתטח ולייחד ייחודים. So he says you could definitely go on Hanukkah to קברי צדיקים. You could even do ייחודים and to be משתטח, which is a certain type of tefillot, and do certain things at the kever. וכן אמר לי מור אביזל, and he brings down עמוד קוף סמ"ה and קוף סמ"ו. Okay, ביקור בקברי צדיקים בשבת. Can you visit Kivrei Sadikim on Shabbat? I mean, I think one of the reasons before we continue is that how close is a cemetery usually to most of the cities? It's not. In Israel, maybe it is, like in Sanhedria or some other areas, but here, like in Florida and Miami or in Brooklyn, they're very far. They're not even in walking distance. Vav. Kama פעמים שביתו מור אבי ז"ל ופמלייתו בשבת. Okay, so he does say that his father, and he said that he would go to Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes in Tveria, and he would explain his words. בליל שבת קודש, פרשת חיי שרה, שנת תש"י"ב, לאחר התרוממות הרווח והתרגשות הנשמה, נחה על מור אבי רוח השם, ופירש את 2 הפסוקים הראשונים בפרשת חיי שרה על דרך פרדס. Pardes, he says here, is the acronym for Pshat, Remez, Derash, and Sod. That's what they say. Pardes is like an orchard, but they say it also is the 4 ways to explain the Torah. Pshat is simple, Remez is a hint, Derash or Darush is taking from one concept to another and elaborating it, and Sod is the secret. So he says one time his father was praying by Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes on Shabbat, and he got like a special spirit almost of a sort, and he started to explain certain pisukim in a high way. כאשר הכל נתחדש באותו זמן בעת עמידת הדברים במקום. וכשבא לירושלים וביקש לכתוב הדברים, הכל נשכח ממנו. He was said over all beautiful hidushim at the kever of Rabbi Meir in Tveria. When he got back to Yerushalayim, he wanted to write it down. He forgot all of it. He didn't remember it. כמסופר בספר עולמו של צדיק. He wrote it in his book, פרק י' עמודים 130 and 137, וראה שם עוד מה שאירע עמהם בשבתות אלו. So he says from here, it seems that on Shabbat he would go to the kever Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes in Tveria. So he's seemingly at least that kever. Limud Torah b'kivrei tzadikim. Should you learn Torah when you go visit a kever of a tzaddik? Nahagu tovim b'sharim v'chein tamidei chachamim mubhakim Lishbot b'Shabbat Kodesh b'Kivrei Harishbi Zechoto Yagin Aleinu. Some people would go on Shabbat to the Kever Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Meir Bar Hanes, Rabbi Akiva, Alehem HaShalom. Those three. V'lilmod Torah al Kivrehem, they would learn Torah there. Lamrot she'ena nefashot neshamot nimtzot sham. Even though he's reminding you that the nefashot and the neshamot are not found on Shabbat on those kevarim. Certain times of the year, the souls leave, or parts of the soul leave the body, or even the location of where it's buried. Like one of the times is on Rosh Chodesh. They tell a person, don't go on Rosh Chodesh to the kevarim because the parts of the soul are not there. But he says even on Shabbat, by the Kivrei Sadikim, when the nefashot and neshamot are not there, even going there to learn Torah is still good. There is something to it, and he's saying he did it. He says, and everyone would pray and they would learn. ויש לומר כי רבנו הארי ז"ל מדבר בעניין הורדת הנשמה למטה לדבר אימם להודיע לה צערנו ובקשתנו. וראה מה שכתבנו בשו"ת מבשרי ציון השלם חלק ד' סימן ס"א עמוד רכ"ג בביאור עניין השתתחות. He talks about there in the book what is to be משתתח on a kever. Hopefully we'll get into that, where he explains like what do you do when a person goes to the Kivrei Sadikim. There's a whole process of what to do. And he says that all these types of things are not, you don't do them on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Because only a small part of the nefesh is found on Shabbat, on the kever of the Sadiq. But the Sadiq that's buried there still has a pleasure that people come to visit him. לאדם הלומד שם תורה יש הרגשת התעלות רוחנית מכוח קדושת המקום. A person learning Torah will get elevated. גם היות המקום מקום תפילה לרבים אשר המוני בית ישראל מגיעים לשם לכל קצוות ארץ ותבל. He says also when they learn and they pray at the Kibbutz Sadiq, people come from all over the world. You see that. You know, when I went to Uman, you see it. When I went to Kibbutz Rishbi, Rabbi Meir, you go there, you see people from all over the world, from Italy, from France. They're all coming to pray. They're coming to learn. And it's a better chance of the tefillot being answered there. The place of where Sadiq is buried is kadosh and tahor, and praying there gets you answered quickly and quicker. Now he says here kadosh v'tahor, it's holy and pure. That does not mean that kohanim can go to kivrei sadikim. It's absolutely asur, and no capacity can they go. I did hear recently about kohanim going to kivarim and finding loopholes. Rav Musafi in many videos and in many audio shiurim made it very clear Kohanim cannot go to Kivrei Sadikim at all. So even though he mentions Tahor, he doesn't mean Tahor pure in the sense that someone that's buried in the cemetery can be accessed by a Kohen. So he says here, you know, the benefit of praying by Kivrei Sadikim, and it's interesting, the first time that we really see this in the Torah was with Yehoshua bin Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh, when they make a pit stop to Hebron, and they start and they pray by the Kivrei Avot in Me'arat HaMachpelah. And over there, Rashi tells us why, that they prayed. They were worried about the etzah of the other meraklim. But he's telling you very, very good advice. If a person wants to get his prayers answered, go pray by Kivrei of Sadiq. Okay, hadlakat nerot, hachanat hanerot mibeod moed. זהירים וגם זריזים מכינים השמנים והפתילות בנות חנוכה כבר משחרית. He said you should prepare on the day of Hanukkah all of the petilot, the oil from shacharitan, from early in the morning. Penny tarud beyom v'yishkach. Maybe you're going to be busy that day and you're going to forget till the evening. Because if you're not going to prepare in the morning, what's going to end up happening? Comes in the time of lighting, you start fidgeting, where's this, where's that, where am I going to get everything? He said, so do it for early in the morning, so it's ready. סיריזים, מחתימים למצוות, וכך היה מנהגו של מור אבי, להכין הכל משחרית עמוד קוף פי וו. Rav Salman Musafi would do it from early in the morning. That's the custom. והדלקת הנרות בבית הכנסת. Okay, preparing and lighting the candles on Hanukkah in the shul. tet. וכן, את חנוכיית בית הכנסת היה מנהגו של מור אבי ז"ל, עליו השלום, להכינה מהבוקר. Also, the one in the shul, from the morning of Hanukkah, he would prepare it. Im petilot shehechina imi aleh shalom, with the petilot that his mother would do, Racham BeSiyon's mother. Shemen zayit haya maniach bekosot, and he would put oil into cups. V'itpalu kol sibur tefilat mincha. Then all of the kahal would pray mincha. כשהגיע זמן פלג המנחה, when plag mincha would come, היה מי מהקהל מדליק בברכה, someone from the kahal, saying, obviously it wasn't a Rab Salman who did it, so he said someone else. ומיד נתפללים תפילת ערבית והולכים כל איש לביתו. They'll pray ערבית, everyone went to their house. ומדליקים הנרות בבית כשהגיע הזמן, and they would light at home when the right time came. גם בערב שבת קודש, on Friday, היו מהקהל הבאים מוקדם בזמן פלג המנחה. They would pray early the mincha on Friday when it's Hanukkah. לאחר שהדליקו בבתיהם. After they already lit at home, והיה מי מתוכם מדליק הנרות בבית הכנסת, and one of them would light in the beit, ומיד אחר כך מקבלים שבת קודש. Then they would accept the Shabbat, מתפללים תפילת ערבית של שבת. So he says here, they would pray מקהל באים מוקדם זמן פלג מנחה. They didn't pray early. What they did is they lit at the time of plag mincha. What Rabbi Mansour does in Brooklyn that we used to do is we would pray mincha early on Friday when Hanukkah would fall out. So instead of praying mincha kabbalat Shabbat Arvit, we would pray mincha 1 or 2 o'clock, then go home to light, and then come back to shul for kabbalat Shabbat. That's what I remember. So that's one of the things that can do. Here he says that the people actually didn't do that. They just went back to shul and lit in the shul on Friday in plag mincha. And he brings that Amud Shin Zayin and Shin Chet. Netinat mayim bekosot hanerot. Should you put water inside of the cups when you're filling them with oil for the Chanukah? Okay, Yud. Minhag kadum etzil keilot hasfaradim. It's an old custom ladik hanerot bekosot zchuchit. So he says, when you light the candles for Hanukkah, they should be glass cups. And you should put a little bit of water on the bottom. And then on top of it, you put the oil. So he says a few things. One, let's highlight these things. First, he says, use glass. Next thing he says, you have to put some water on the bottom. And then on top of it, you put the shemen. In the word mayim, there's a hint. Ha'ot mem romezet mitzvat haShabbat. Okay, so the mem is mitzvat Shabbat. Ba osurot arba'im melachot haser achat. That on Shabbat, what are the av melachot that are not allowed? It's 39. 39 is what? 40 minus 1. This is arba'im haser achat. So the letter mem from the word mayim, mem is 40 minus 1. Arba'im melachot haser achat. Va'ot yud, the yud of the word mayim, romezet le'ot brit milah. That is a reference to the Brit Milah. Ve'ot mem setuma, the last mem of the word mayim, nomezet lalebana kishi b'milu'ah. When the moon is in its full state, it looks like a mem, sofit, that it has that. And so he says that's why you put mayim below it. So he remind you, one is for Shabbat, that you have arba'im chaser achat, right? And then you have the ot yud. The ot yud is for the Brit Milah, and you have the ot mem for the levana, right? For the moon, and that's. How's yud and Brit Milah connected? So I don't. He puts here yud is for Brit Milah. I think. Katuch, maybe. No, so I'll tell you why I think, because the Brit Milah is referred to the yesod, the foundation of human beings and mankind, because what comes out of the Brit Milah of the yesod is how the world grows and there's human population. Because if a person didn't have the ability to have a zera come out of him, then he would not be able to have children, and it would be the end of society. So it's the yesod. So he says yud yesod, that's Brit Milah. That's how I understand it. Now, but why is he saying these things of the mayim? Because these are the things that the Yevanim want to take away from us. What do they want to take away from us? Shabbat. They said that you have to understand something. The Greeks. And furthermore, the Hellenists at the time of Hanukkah didn't want to kill the Jews. They were not out to hunt anybody down. They were only out for one thing. They said, you continue being, who you are, just don't be Jewish. They wanted people to survive. They just didn't want them to have their religion anymore. Yeah. It's very different. Haman, in Purim, he was out for something else. Haman said, I don't care Jewish father, mother, I don't care. He doesn't want Jews around. Haman had a much bigger issue. He didn't want any Jews around at all. The Greeks didn't want them to have Shabbat. What else? They didn't want them to do Brit Milah. And what else that they didn't want? They didn't want them to do Birkat Levana. Those were 3 of the things that they didn't want them to do. So that's the word Mayim. Mayim is for the Shabbat, is 40 things minus 139 that you can't do on Shabbat. Yud, Yesod, Brit Milah, and Mem is the moon that they didn't want them to do. Let's look at Yud Aleph. V'zachur letov mor Avizal, Rav Salman, שהיה מכין בבית הכנסת הכסות הללו בתוך מושבם בחנוכיית נחושת מהודדת. He said he would do it inside of a copper Hanukkah. ושופך מים בשיעור רוב הכוס. And he would put majority of water inside of the glass. That's interesting. ועליהם יוצק בכל יום שמן זית זך. And on top of it he would put olive oil on top of the majority water. ומרת אמי עליה השלום הייתה מכינה פתילות בכמות גדולה, and חכם BeSiyon, Musafi's mother, would make the פתילות עשויות מעץ הדקל מהנותר משכח הסוכה. Wow, she would take from the dekel that was left over from the sukkah. The dekel is the palm. So she would take, they would have the schach. They wouldn't throw away the schach. She would use the schach pieces and make from it pitilot, and use those pitilot for Hanukkah. שיעריהם מצווה מעכבים את הפורענות. So, וחותכת אותם באומנות סכין, very thin properly, ושוזרת עליהם צמר גפן גולמי, and she would put on them, צמר גפן is cotton, ותוכבת את הפתילה בחורי כפתור, she would put them into like buttons, ומניחתו בתחתית הכוסות הללו, she would put them in a form of a button, so that they wouldn't move around inside of the cup. So she'd take a button, she would put the petil inside and it wouldn't move. Ashreim v'ashrei chelkam v'asher ra'in ra'ata kol ele. Ach bebeto, in his house though, haya mor Avizal, mitzaveh le'imi alei shalom, shetiniach shemen bilvad bekos ktana, that she should put only oil inside of a small glass, כדי שלא לגרום טרחה יתרה בהחלפת הפתילות בכל יום. In order so she doesn't have a difficulty having to pull out the petilot all day, he said put them into a small glass. לאחר שספגו מים בליל אתמול, עמוד קפ"ו. So he said at home, he told her to just put them in smaller cups so that she doesn't have difficulty taking them out and preparing them.
Was he married? Because it seems like his mom's doing all.
No, this is his wife. No, when I say the mother of Chacham BeSiyon, I mean the wife of Rav Salman. All that I'm telling you here is everything about Rav Salman Musafi, the father of Chacham BeSiyon. Yeah, of course they were married. Hachlafat petilot, when you have to change the petilot in the Chanukah. It was interesting. I told you they studied a week before. Look at the size of this book. You tell me you want to do this in a week? It's impossible. But look, we have 5 of these fighting to go through. It's impossible. You see, we're learning. I mean, it can't do it in a week's time. Okay, Yidbet. Yesh makbidim להחליף בכל לילה את הפתילות שקבעו בפתילות חדשות. Some people have the custom of changing the petilot every single day. ויש המקפידים להשתמש דווקא בפתילות הישנות. Some people say, no, I want to use the old ones specifically. משום שנתקיימה בהם מצווה. Because you did a mitzvah with them, והואיל והתעביד בה מצווה חדה, להתעביד בה מצווה אחריתי. So you say, if you did one mitzvah, do another. ועוד משום שהישנות טובות יותר להדלקה. Because the old ones usually light up a little bit better. That's how his father used to do, that he used to use the old ones. The same petilot he used on all the nights, he didn't change them. As long as they were long enough and they would be able to be lit for the time. Amud Kuf and Kuf Peitet. Makom Hanachat HaChanukah. Where do you put the Hanukkah? Yud Gimel. B'derot ha'achronim pashat minhag la'adlika et tenot HaChanukah bepanim bifnim habayit. Inside of the house. In the last generations, people started doing that. Samuch lapetach, near the door, on the opposite side of the mezuzah, or lechalon, or in the window, or al shulchano, or on his table. So 3 different things he tells you. He says Samuch lapetach, near the door, or lachalon, or on his table. And it's brought down the halacha this way. להדליקה בפנים הבית אצל טפח הסמוך לפתח השמאל, וכן נהג מוראבי. So he says here that the rabbis of the Kabbalah, they would light it in the house, one tefach hasamuch lepetach smol, one petach off the left side. On the right side you had the mezuzah, on the left side one tefach over, they would do it.
One tefach is this.
Yeah. It's 8 centimeters.
So it's basically in the middle of the door.
No, on the side of the door. So here, I'll show you.
Opposite from the.
Yeah, you had the mezuzah on the right side, and then you had the left side. They would put it one tefach over here.
One tefach over.
Over on the left. So when you would look, I don't know if he's going to talk about it, but the idea was that you had the mezuzah on the right, the Hanukkah on the left, and the tzitzit on you.
Yeah.
That was the 3 mitzvot. Okay. Heked ner hashemesh mish'ar hanerot. Okay. So he's talking about the shamash on the Hanukkah. Yudalit. Et nerot ha-Chanukah hayam mor avizal madlik b'shemen zayit. He would light specifically with olive oil on the nerot Hanukkah. Ve'et ner ha-shamash madlik b'shemen lagil. But the shamash, he would not use olive oil. He would use a regular oil. L'shanot madragoto mehem amud rish mem gimel. In order so that he would have a lower level the shamash. He didn't want the shamash to be the same oil. Zman hadlaka. When should you light? Tetvav. You should light not more than 30 minutes after the shki'ah. Our custom is not to light until tzet kochavim when you have 3 stars out. So he says here that they would light. He says that they would not light more than 30 minutes after the Shki'ah, and that's how his father would do it, and so would all the rabbis of the Yeshiva Porat Yosef. Amud Kuf Sadi Bet. So it's interesting. He says even though that the custom was to light after nightfall, they would 30 minutes after the Shki'ah. It's interesting to note that the Shki'ah and the Tzet in different places is significantly different. In Yerushalayim versus here in Miami versus New York versus Europe is different. Zman tefilat arvit b'Hanukkah. When do you pray arvit on Hanukkah? Tet zayin. Minhag kol batei haKnesset haSfardim bechol makom litpilel arvit miyad im hashki'ah. They would pray arvit with the shki'ah, with sunset. Mishum tadir v'sheno tadir kodem. V'acharei 20 dakot mehashki'ah. After 20 minutes after sunset, omrim kirat shema bizmana. They would say shema on the right time. V'lachar mekin meharim lebetam ladik. Then they would run to their house to light. U'minhag shel mor avizal. His father hayam כמנהג חכמי הספרדים להתפלל מדי יום תפילת ערבית עם פלג המנחה. His father would pray mincha early, Rab Salman, שהוא שעה ורבע קודם צאת הכוכבים, significantly before the stars came out. ולפי שעות זמניות ואת תפילת מנחה סיימו לפני כן. לבד יש סתירה בין זמן תפילת מנחה לזמן תפילת ערבית. עמוד קוף סדי זין. So he would pray mincha earlier than that, before his arvit, and that was his custom. Yud Zayin. Chen nahagu miyom yesod hayeshiva kedusha Porat Yosef be'ir ha'atika Yerushalayim. When they opened up Porat Yosef in the old city, bishnat tav v'resh pei dalet, bizman rabbotenu geonim harav Shlomo Lenyado zal harav Shaul Dwek HaKohen zal. He was called the Sadeh. He's a big mikubah. We're going to talk about him a lot in the future. Who was the Sadeh? What he taught us. He was the rabbi, Rab Salman, and many of the mikubadim. ורבנו עזרעתי עליו השלום. וכך הנהיגו רבותינו בעיר החדשה, הגאון רבי יהודה סדקה ז"ל, והגאון רבי BeSiyon אבא שאול ז"ל, וכל השנים עשו כן ללא שינוי, וכן נהגו רוב ככל בתי הכנסת בירושלים, רבתי עיר הקדושה לאלוהים, כולנו כאחד. Okay, interesting. So he's saying how everyone did this custom of praying this way and lighting the candles this way. Berov am hadrat melech. That means when you do mitzvot, do them with a lot of people together. Berov am, with a lot of people, then the melech has more splendor. Yirchet. Ira pam echat she'echad mibnei habayit echel lagia. One of the people in the house didn't come on time. ומור אביזל, רב סלמן מוספי, למרות שהיה נזהר כל ימיו להדליק תוך חצי שעה הראשונה לשקיעת חמה, even though he would light within 30 minutes of the sunset, המתין לבוא שעה שלמה ורק בהגיעו הדליק. He waited 1 hour for the other member of the family to come home before he lit. So here, Amud Kuf Sadichet. This is very interesting. He's teaching us how at home, when you're lighting the Nirot of Hanukkah, if not everybody's in the house, wait. Don't rush it. Even though the time might pass, he says, Rab Salman, he used to wait. So the right custom, if you want to follow that, is to wait as opposed to lighting within 30 minutes of the Shkia. Of course, to avoid fighting and telling, where are you, where'd you come, how come, whatever. And you have to remember, Rab Salman Musafi did not have a cell phone. I know for sure. He didn't have any phone, he didn't have a smartphone. So when he had to wait, he waited without knowledge maybe as to what was happening or coming, but he was patient. Yutet. וכן היו נוהגים מור אביזל והגאון רבנו BeSiyon אבא שאול ז"ל לאסוף כמה בחורים ואברכים לכן מהמוני העם שיהיו עמם בשעת הברכה וההדלקה משום ברוב עם הדת מלך, and that's brought down in Mishle Yudalid Kowach, and he brings in the book Amud Resh. So he says that his father and BeSiyon Abba Shaul used to also take some avrechim, some of the single boys, some of the people in shul that he knew they weren't, they didn't have maybe an official place to light, and bring them to the house with them. So when he lights, he's lighting the Hanukkah with a lot of people besides him. Let's look at Chaf. ומעשה שהיה פעם אחת שיצאנו מישיבת פירות יוסף ומיהרנו לביתנו בשכונת סנהדריה. So they finished in Pirat Yosef, they went to Sanhedria, to their house, Aishana, להדליק הנרות, to light the candles. וברחוב עמוס שבכונת גאולה, on that street Amos in גאולה, פגשנו בהגאון רבי יוסף הכהן ז"ל. They saw this rabbi, שיצא לחצרו להדליק הנרות, that he went out to the front of his house, his courtyard, to light. ועמדנו כמה אברכים לשמוע ברכות מפיו, וראינו הדלקה, and we sat there listening to his bracha, answering and watching him. ובסיומה הודה לנו והחזיק לנו טובה על כך. And he was very thankful for us after we sat there watching him and answering his brachot. אשריו ואשרי חלקו וצדיק זה כל ימיו היה לומד כל יום בשובו ממלאכתו בבית דין בירושלים. He said every day this person, when he came from work, he would go to the Beit Din, sit down and learn. 4 שעות תמידות בספר בית יוסף על הסדר. 4 hours a day, he would sit there learning the Beit Yosef. זכותו יגן עלינו אמן. עמוד רש. Wow. Interesting. Okay, let's read a little bit more and then we'll continue tomorrow. זמן בסדר הדלקה במועצי שבת חנוכה. What do you do on Saturday night for the Hanukkah? במועצי שבת של חנוכה, Saturday night, נהג מור אביזל לזרז את כל הציבור להתפלל ערבית בזמנה בלא איחור. He said pray ערבית very quickly in the shul כדי להספיק להדליק נרות חנוכה בזמנם למהדרין, שהוא תוך חצי שעה מצאת השבת. עמוד רש ד'. So he says he would make sure people pray Arvit quickly so that they can light within 30 minutes of the Shkia. כ"ב. ולעניין סדר ההדלקה במועצי שבת בבית הכנסת שהיו שם אסיפת אנשים רבים, when there was a lot of people on Saturday night in the shul, מוצאי שבת, גם בעזרת אנשים היו נאספות רבות בנות לשמוע הבדלה ולראות הדלקת נר חנוכה. A lot of women would come, they would all come to shul to hear the הבדלה and the הדלקת נר חנוכה. היה מנהגו ז"ל להדליק הנרות תחילה משום פרסומי ניסה. He would first light the Hanukkah. Okay, Shabbat already ended. He would light the Hanukkah first. ומפני שיש הממרים לדרך ביתם לעסקיהם ויפסידו מצוות פרסומי ניסה שלא ילכו ויתפזרו. So instead of doing Havdalah first and then lighting the Hanukkah, he would light the Hanukkah first, and then if someone wanted to leave and do Havdalah at home, he could go leave and do Havdalah at home. But at least he would get the Pirsumei Nisa of spreading the miracle. And then very quickly they do Havdalah. But at home, תחילה וראש עשה בזריזות הבדלה, מיד ניגש להדלקת נר חנוכה, זכותו יגן עלינו אמן, עמוד רש ט'. So he said that at home, what would he do? He would do the opposite. He would first do the Havdalah, and then he would light the Nerot Hanukkah. While in shul, he would do it in the opposite way. Tomorrow we'll continue on Orich B'Hadlakat Nerot. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'Amen.